I really hated to say good evening. The energy in the room is fabulous. Welcome to UCLA. For those of you from UCLA, welcome to UCLA. I wanted to emphasize or bring to your attention that this is the third Women in Technology Conference. It'll become clear in a minute why a white male is introducing this conference in just a minute. But the biggest reason is I want to introduce Davida Johnson. I think many of you know her. Davida, would you please stand up? Davida's office is just down the other end of the suite from me, and I've seen day in and day out, actually over the past few years, the shaping, nursing, conceiving of this conference. This is fabulous. What a great turnout. Thank you for being here. My other objective is to try and set the tone just a little bit for this, and then get it over to Davida, and I'll get out of the way. I spent a few minutes trying to figure out how to even set the tone on this, and the two words that kept coming to my mind were right time and right place. And I'd like to kind of emphasize those a little bit and how I got to that. So the easiest way for me to do that is, bear with me, I have to carbon date myself. So in the early 80s, I had the good fortune to be involved with artificial intelligence and machine learning, which many of you have heard more recently. We were doing things back then where we would have machines where we would simulate how sight takes place, how the brain processes images. We were using those kinds of machines to look at data, look at features, look at all kinds of things. But we couldn't do anything with it. We didn't have the technology or the capacity to take them any farther in the early 80s. So it just kind of faded out, even though the technology was really kind of neat. You're at the right time because the technology and the capacity to do that stuff is actually here, and you can really run with this. 10 years later, I had the good fortune to be at the right place at the right time for the startup of the web and the startup of the rise of the internet. So I'm really dating myself now. I was among a group of universities that actually started up the internet too, for those of you who are aware of that, the first national network taking things forward. We had no idea at that time what this would turn into, but all of you are very, very aware of what it has turned into, right? An unbelievable global capacity, 500 million people have iPhones in their hands, they're connected now, and unbelievable, unprecedented capabilities out there that we never even conceived of in the early 90s. If I fast forward to the 2000s, I had the good fortune to be at the right place at the right time to start something up called smart manufacturing. This actually turned out to be the first movement of manufacturing in the US. And at that time, there was no Internet of Things, and nothing else was smart. We were the only ones talking about smart at the time. It was actually kind of interesting at that point. You have all kinds of things at your hands, right? There's smart cities, smart transportation, smart health, smart firefighting, smart buildings, smart transportation, and so forth. So this is actually, all of this stuff has taken hold in such interesting ways. You really are at the right time. You know, when you think about driverless vehicles and how fast that's come on the scene, if you think about these systems, we're doing things like, how do you listen to quality? You know, how do you watch quality? You know, it's kind of interesting when you think about really taking technology forward. And we're thinking about, you know, how do you change entire supply chains? Right? Just think about Cheerios. That box of Cheerios that you pick up on the grocery shelf actually goes all the way back to a farm that knows whether it's gluten-free, GMO-free. They're selling health. They're not selling Cheerios anymore. The whole market changes around. You are at the right time and the right place. All of these kinds of things have come together. The other thing that I wanted to call your attention to from my perspective after looking at this stuff for 30 years is that you're at the right time and right place for the problems. So if you start thinking about the globe or the planet, and you start thinking about food, you start thinking about health, you start thinking about energy, water, you name it, those are all real problems out there, and the technology has actually arrived at about the right time to start solving those kinds of problems. Just to give you an example, for us, smart manufacturing has turned out to be a national institute based here in Los Angeles, for anyone who's interested. But the reason the institute came about It was sponsored by the Department of Energy, and the reason is when you start looking at 9 billion people on the planet, there is no way the planet can sustain the energy growth to sustain and do what those 9 billion people are going to be doing. You have to do it in a different way. Same as with health, food, and so forth. You're at the right time in the right place. The other thing that you're in the right place is California itself. We've been working very, very closely with the governor's office and the mayor's office, and it is unbelievable where they are with this. So you hear Mayor Garcetti talk all the time about data and technology and so forth, and you start seeing these kinds of programs that are coming forward. But from a technology standpoint, from a job standpoint, for a reason for the jobs, California really stands out across. And when we start looking at things like jobs, just in manufacturing alone, California is the largest manufacturing state, largest manufacturer state in the country with about 40,000 companies. And the growth areas in small and medium companies, and that's here in California. You're in the right place. The last thing I wanted to just kind of leave you with before turning it over, there is something about this conference being the right place. It's the third one. It's the largest. Women in technology. It has to be said that the paths for women in technology need to be developed still better. They need to be cleared better. They need to be established better. This conference, I think, is the right place to put that on the table. I'm really glad to see the agenda doing that. Let me just give you one hint to think about. In the technology areas that I'm working in, we've identified 165 new job descriptions that previously did not exist just 2 years ago. There's a room for all kinds of new places and new ways to take this forward. And then I was very, very pleased to see that section, the last session, on equity, inclusion, and diversity. That really does need to be addressed. And as I've talked to Davida, I really, really hope this conference, at this particular point in time, can lend a voice inside this university, outside this university, really put that on the table in the strongest terms. It's really important. And so let me get out of the way. I'd like to hand it over to Davida. If I leave you with anything, you're at the right time, the right place, the right conference, the right group, and I'm really looking for the voice that comes from this and looking forward to the sessions tonight. Thanks very much.
Good evening, everyone. I'm so happy to see all of your faces here. This is really a great time, just like Jim said, to be here. We are so excited about this conference tonight. We have such wonderful speakers. And I wanted to just set the stage for what we're going to experience tonight. First of all, it's always good to thank the people who have helped with the conference, especially if you have not talked to Eileen. I'm sure all of you have. I wanted to thank Eileen Chow, who is here tonight. I know what she's probably seating in the back at some point. But Eileen and Chris Pompeo are members of my team. They've been excellent with getting the conference together and making sure things are on time and that everything's said. I want to thank Rafi Simonian and Liz Morin, Vandana Mongol, Darina Ganina, and Jamie Park, who are with the Easton Technology Center. And I also want to thank all of our volunteers who are here tonight, who you saw probably in the parking lot and helping you get to the seats and to the conference. I want to, yes, please give them a hand clap. I want to say, too, we have an organizing committee and an advisory committee. We can't do this alone. So these are the women who have helped to organize the conference, to organize the content of the conference, to help to get speakers. And it's something they've been dedicated and committed for this for the last probably several months. And many of them have actually done it for several years now for us. Yes, thank you. I also want to thank our sponsors. We can't do this without our sponsors and our partners. They're the ones who back us financially and who allow us to put the conference on so that we could make it affordable, really, for people to come to the conference. So I want another hand clap for IS Associates, the UCLA IS Associates, the Anderson, the UCLA Extension, Easton Technology Center, and we also have our partners, UCLA Anderson Computing and Information Systems, Startup UCLA, Passion Planner, and Randstad. So hand clap for them too. And each of you should have a booklet on your seat when you got in. It's called Passion Planner. That is accompanied by a UCLA alumna. So that is her company. So UCLA graduates are doing great things. I also want to thank our student groups. If you didn't go out there to meet them, they're scattered around Anderson High Tech Business Association, the Society of Women Engineers, and the Stats Club. Okay. Bear with me, I'm having a little trouble seeing this small screen. Just to let you know who's here tonight, we have students, we have people who are in the C-suite, vice presidents. We also have director level, and we also have employee level. So we tend to bring forth a diverse group of people in different levels to the conferences like this. So 334 attendees, thank you. We're a little short on time, so I'm going to speed up a little bit, if you don't mind. Okay, so this is where I want to get to, why we're here. This is my favorite part of the conference, and it really is to just talk about why we're here. And, you know, I actually went on the internet and I was trying to search for a lot of positive information for women in tech. I even put in positive women in tech. And there was so much that came up, you know, gender gap, pay gap, bad negotiation strategies or ability. There was just so much, and I literally had a very hard time finding anything positive about what's happening with women in tech. And that's one reason why we're here today. And the reason I say that is because I really do want you to leave this conference with some positive, practical things that you can do to take back into your organizations to be able to change that what's on the internet and change that dialogue that's there. We do need to see more things and success stories instead of the things that we're seeing on the internet today. If you, like I said, just Google positive women in tech, and it's just very hard to find it. But I did find some things, so let's see what we found. This is a quote by Margaret Neal. You may have heard of Margaret Neal. She's a professor at Stanford. She is an expert in negotiation strategies. And she says women have systematically lower expectations. The problem with having systematically lower expectations is that you get lower outcomes. So you're going to hear a lot more tonight about negotiation strategies, but I just thought that's so interesting. And the last sentence in this is that women get less, not because they are women, but because their expectations are lower. So one of the things that I would like for all of us to do tonight is to really raise our expectations on what we can do, what we can have, and who we can become. So as you're listening to these speakers, really I would like you to take that away with you tonight. So some more facts. These are positive facts. So gender diverse work teams demonstrate superior team dynamics and productivity. And this is talking about a study that was done, and with a diverse work team, they were able to better project schedules, lower project costs. There was higher performance ratings and higher employee pay bonuses. So there is benefit all around to having a diverse gender team. Females leading tech companies make money and save money. So women operated venture-backed high-tech companies average 12% higher annual revenues. They also use, on average, 1/3 less capital than their male counterpart startups. That's pretty impressive. So women are making you money, and they're saving you money. So that tells the story on its own. Gender and ethnic diversity leads to better performance. This is another study that was done. And they investigated 500 US businesses and saw that companies with more race and gender diversity had higher sales revenue. So there, again, is that bottom line number. More customers, greater market share, and greater profits than less diverse companies. And then the last one is that women in executive roles improve all measures of performance. And this is actually a segue to our first speakers who are going to talk about leadership tonight. So this study was across public, private, and nonprofit organizations, and it found that those with 3 or more women on their executive boards outperformed organizations on all of these measures, which is leadership, direction, accountability, coordination, control, external orientation, capability, work environment, and values. So it is so important to be not only a woman in tech or a woman pursuing technology, but also really to strive for those leadership positions, because you really can make a difference in those positions. So with that, I'd like to invite our first 2 speakers on the stage, Mary LeBlanc and Leah Andres. Thank you.